I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, May the 18th, brought to you in part by the new Nasalgen. Bovolus Nasalgen 3 PMH is a one-of-a-kind respiratory vaccine that provides unmatched protection to young calves like most of you have running around right now. It also leaves a unique blue shadow so you can tell which ones you've treated and which ones you haven't. For more information, go to unmatchedprotection.com. Premium for quality, and that's really what your packers are looking for right now, because we are getting really short of it, is your really high quality cattle, your well-fed, well-finished cattle that'll grade up in that top end of choice and up into the prime USDA quality grade. We're running short of them. It's getting to where your fat cattle offering is more calves that went on feed as calves than yearlings that went on feed as yearlings, and they're just not grading quite as well. And your packers are really going after the best cattle. And some of your major packers, at least one of them, is desperate for cattle, searching high and low for cattle, and really got short bought. And we saw that at Yankton, South Dakota on Tuesday. But your packers were out looking around for cattle, not really wanting to pay up for them, and those that were selling were not really excited about selling them at lower prices. So we kind of had a little standoff there. We saw a few cattle sell mostly at steady prices, but we still haven't established a market on a direct basis in your 5-area feeding region for fed cattle this week. We'll see what happens here today on Thursday, but going through Wednesday, we still haven't seen it yet. We did see that your northern packers are going to be willing to go south of the border, south of the northern plains, southern plains line, what I call it, I-70. They're going south into Kansas looking for high quality cattle. And we know of at least one occasion they did find some high quality cattle in Kansas and gave $6 more than what the southern plains established their market for last week. So the money's out there if you've got the cattle and you're willing to look for a buyer for them, and you're willing to hold your guns and try to get more money. But we just haven't really seen everything take off as of yet. We did see some 282 bids in the Eastern Corn Belt late in the day on Wednesday. I'm sure that probably broke some cattle loose. That would be a bit better than what they were paying last week, but that would have been after the 2 o'clock deadline to put the sales in, so we didn't get to see confirmation on that. But I'm sure we saw some cattle sell at 282 in the northern plains. But some news come out on Wednesday there that South Texas beef packers based out of Corpus Christi, Texas, have purchased Missouri Prime beef packers. Now, Missouri Prime beef packers is one of the startups that's come along in the last few years, and they converted an old plant and made it more modern, and were kind of had ideas of catering to a higher quality steer and heifer beef product. As they got to rolling, they found it harder to find those cattle, and they found more opportunities in cows, and they started harvesting more beef cows than they did steers and heifers. But I knew several producers that were feeding cattle for Missouri Prime, and it wasn't going the best there, but still going pretty good. They were harvesting about 750 per day, which is a pretty good clip, guys. But South Texas Beef indeed has purchased them and is expected to take over immediately operations there in north of Springfield, Missouri, near Pleasant Hope, Missouri there. But South Texas Beef, you might have remembered them as formerly as Sam Kane. The Sam Kane family name there was very good for many years in that area of South Texas at Corpus Christi. They had a lot of partners. They did a lot of good business there, and they had a great name. They sold that here several years ago to a foreign outfit that kept the Sam Kane name and then tried to run it into the ground. They stuck a lot of people ended up not paying for a lot of cattle that they indeed harvested, and it kind of got caught up in a bankruptcy thing, and you were dealing with foreigners. So what foreigners do is they run back to where they came from, and they avoid all the trouble that they caused over here. But we hated to see them run the good Sam Cane name into the ground. But the new owners now here for the last several years have been running it as South Texas Beef and are getting that reputation back. Been doing a good job. They pay for their cattle, and they're starting to gain the trust of Texas producers or feedlots that are sending cattle to them. So we hope that this new arrangement goes well. I'm just glad that it went to somebody that was domestic. It didn't go to a different foreigner, because these smaller regional packers, and this would want to be, both of these would be the small regional packer types. I'm just glad that it stayed, United States nationally, and did not go to some foreign representative there. So we're hoping for good things to come there, and maybe expansion there in South Missouri. But talk about your board on Wednesday. June live cattle futures, they traded lower most of the day and then jumped up there, up 95 cents at 164.82. That's still short of 165, so we're still talking about an $11 or $12 basis compared to the Northern Plains trade, what little we've seen of it, and that is ridiculous when we're getting this late into May, working off that June contract. August up 65 cents at 163.12. Your back months were kind of scattered from down 37 to up 15 cents. May feeder cattle were down $1.12 or $1.15, excuse me, and they have been running at such a premium to what your cash price is, and then here late as they're getting close to maturity, they're having to back up to get close to that because they have to meet up. And what is nice about that cash settlement is they do meet up. You don't see a huge positive or negative basis there, and it makes me think maybe that's what we need to do with the live cattle, even though that's what really puts teeth into the live cattle contract is the threat of delivery. But when you can't demand delivery, then you get these huge bases like you have right now, and it's not really doing a whole lot to try to get in line as we're getting close to maturity on the June live cattle contract. But May feeder cattle down $1.15 at 204.55, still trading $1 to $2 higher than what your index levels are. August feeders down 32 at 231.15. That looks pretty good out there, guys, for those yearlings coming off grass here late this summer or early in the fall. Your back months were all lower, from down 37 cents to down 147. But grains were cheaper again. December new crop corn down 6 1/4 cents at $4.99 a bushel. No longer over $5 a bushel, guys. That's a big threshold there, and it indeed did close regular trading for the day on Wednesday under $5 a bushel. November new crop beans down 19 1/2 at 11.87 1/2. It's down under $12 a bushel for your beans. July Kansas City wheat, after gaining so much ground there last week, it's been kind of coming back here a little bit, but still really, really high, with July Kansas City or hard red winter wheat down 9 3/4 cents, settling at 8.85 1/2. That is a big price for hard red winter wheat, guys. Your fat cattle trade, there was a little bit of trade in all 4 of the 5 areas that we get information from. And we saw Iowa had confirmed sales on Wednesday, 1,300 head, selling them from 176 to 177. That's pretty close in there with last week. And dress sales from 275 to 280. Nebraska, 2,700 head. We just saw live sales of 173.50 and dress sales at 280. But Kansas, like I told you before, those northern plants coming down in there, dipping into some really good cattle and creaming them. 600 head confirmed in Kansas, mostly up there in the northern part on some really good cattle. We saw one regional buy some good cattle in Kansas at 173.50. That would be a big premium to what they're used to in the southern plains. And then we saw another one that caters to quality. Like I said at the beginning of this report, quality's at a premium, and they give 176 for some cattle in Kansas, in the Southern Plains, guys, on some good top quality cattle. Texas, the only thing we really saw was a couple of hundred head that sold on the Fed Cattle Exchange, steady with last week at 170. But I told you I did hear 282 bids in the Eastern Corn Belt there late in the day on Wednesday, and I'm sure that broke some cattle loose, and we'll find out more about them for tomorrow's visit. But they had a brick and mortar sale there at Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota. They were steady to $3 higher than last week, with the conventional cattle selling from 177 to 182.50. You don't see that direct out in the country. And some drug-free or non-implanted cattle selling as high as 185.5. Pretty good market there in competitive bidding in a sale barn setting. Box beef cutout values cheaper again. Choice cuts $298.15 down $1.32. Selects down $146 at $282.89. Your slaughter 379,000 through the first 3 days of this week. That's 1,000 less than last week at this time. 6,000 more than the same week a year ago. Talk about your what else is going on. How about livestock risk services? We talk about them all the time. They're your LRP specialists, guys. A lot of you guys just now turning cattle out for the summer here. If you don't have an LRP on them, you need to look in the mirror and check yourself. You need to have an LRP on them, guys. Yes, the premiums are sizable. Yes, the government will come in and subsidize up to over 50% of the cost of that premium. It's a no-brainer, guys. You got to do it. If you haven't done it yet and you want to find out about it, call Dakota Moss, who offices there at the Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City, or one of his other agents listed here, and get a hold of them. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV Auction late in the day on Wednesday, setting at 203.21. That was up $1.02. So we saw it up on Monday, took most of that back on Tuesday, and then up again on Wednesday. But just over $2 there on a cash 800-pound steer there, and that's sure what they bring. So that's a good test of the market. Coming up here today on Thursday, don't forget Elite Livestock Sales. The gang from Montgomery Stockyards there, selling them now online in load lots. They've got a big video special here on DV Auction. Starts at 3 o'clock Central. So it's a later afternoon deal. It'll be even later than that before out on the East Coast there. But guys, 3 o'clock Central, Elite Livestock Sales is going to have 38 loads of yearlings coming off the short ryegrass down there in the southeast. And they're good enough to feed anywhere, especially in the summertime, guys. I want you guys to continue to support the Punchy Pick of the Month contest. Been having a lot of fun with that. We've got a lot of picks sent in. If we don't pick you, don't get discouraged. Next time you have a good punchy pick, send it in. But those that have been in the top 3 get mentioned, and then whoever wins each month gets the grand prize, including a case of Ferapeace. And we're hearing a lot of good things about that. That's a topical product that you put over the pole and over the muzzle, and it calms those cattle down. I heard earlier this week that some guys that are using Ferapeace on these little bitty light peewee calves that aren't weaned, and it's calming those calves down, and they're eating, and they're not stressed, and they're not getting sick. You guys need to try it. You get a whole case of it if you win the Punchy Pick of the Month contest. Also get some really cool swag from Beaver Feed in Beaver, Oklahoma, and our friends at Beaver County Stockyards. Talk about your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, DV Auction broadcaster there had 6,200 head, mostly yearlings on Wednesday. They sell a few calves on Tuesday there, but the calf runs have been kind of light here, as most of them are all turned out with their mothers and just not a lot of cattle moving. And we're going to see the runs continue to lighten up here until we get nearly to the tail end of July going forward here. But in El Reno, Oklahoma on Wednesday, your feeder cattle sold $2 to $6 higher. Calves on Tuesday sold $3 to $10 higher on a good run of cattle there, and an awesome sale at OKC West in El Reno, Oklahoma. Talk about Dodge City, Kansas, winter livestock, 1,400 head there. They sold the steers $6 to $9 higher according to the market reporter there. Heifers steady to $6 higher. Calves not well tested on a lighter run there in Dodge City, Kansas. Your National Beef Wire stick out sale of the day was Pay's auction there in Billings, Montana. That stands for Public Auction Yards. Billings, Montana, the Goggins family right there. And they had one whale of a sale there. Check out this automated market report from Cattle Market Central. You'll see 179 head of 5-weight steers, average 535, with a weighted average price on all those of $280.49. 122 head of 6-weight steers, average $643, weighted average price on those $261.52. My goodness, how about 238 head of 7-weight steers, average $759, average price $236.30. The heifer deal was what was really crazy at Pay's, and there was a few that sold for replacement. There was some that was value added, but a lot more that were just heifer, feeder heifers, but thrown in a bundle here. Very impressive here. And 492 head of 5-weight heifer calves, average $564, weighted average price on all them $256.68. 439 head of 6-weight heifer calves in Pay's at Billings, Montana, 636 pounds on the average $237.30, and 373 head of 7-weight heifers, average $729, average price $231.22. Very impressive sale there in Billings, Montana. Give you some individual quotes. How about Platte Livestock Market in Platte, South Dakota? They sell 59 steers, or no, they were heifers, excuse me. I saw the price and I thought they were steers. No, they were heifers. 59 heifers weigh 898 or 900 pounds at $196.85. You couldn't get that for steers last week, the week before, the week before that. But now we're seeing heifers bring that, guys. Very impressive. Heifer's been selling good all week everywhere. How about Huss Livestock Market in Kearney, Nebraska? They had an impressive sale, especially on the heifers, including 4 loads of heifers, one consignment there. They averaged 777 pounds, sold them per load, had the option. One feeder from Eastern Corn Belt gives 217 for one load. The other 3 loads bring 214. Average weight on those loads, 777 pounds, guys. Very impressive. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday, your Mackerson No BS top quote for the day, indeed come from our stick out sale at Pay's Livestock there in Billings, Montana. It was on steers though. 185 steers weigh 768 at $239.50. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.